gotta wonder, what was the Port Authority thinking? When you come to a day in a place like this, with a marina like this, the lake looking like it does, the property as it is, it's just incredible what kind of a gateway that this is to Cleveland, to the National Park south, to the Great Lakes to the north. This is the place. And Ed Hauser really did make it happen. The developers in this town understand that this kind of amenity in this age where the green economy is taking over, understand that Whiskey Island is the expression of downtown Cleveland to the lake. So we need that bridge to cross the railroad tracks. We need that towpath trail to come right on through to the lake. And that's an agenda that we need to pursue. And we would appreciate any and all of your support to petition the Cleveland Metro Parks commissioners to make sure that they understand how important it is that this become one of their links to their emerald necklace. This is honestly, as Ed would say, the gem.
He would be a thorn in your side or he'd be your best friend. Whichever it needed to be done, he would do it. But the thing that I like most about him is that he believed in what he talked about. It was no pretense. Whatever it was that you know he came to you about, that's what it was. It was nothing other than that. And that's what I really will miss, because when you're in public life, even if someone's against you, you always appreciate the fact that they're genuine, that they're true, and that they really mean what they say. And that's what I miss about Ed. And I think it's very appropriate that is Ed's way, because he did get his way. And so I thank you for having me here. Thank you.
That Ed wasn't just an advocate for Wendy Park and Whiskey Island, but he was really Citizen Hauser, trying to affect many issues in this community. When Wendy Park opened, I think the first year the count that we had was about 6,000 visitors. Well, this past summer, there were well over 35,000 people that came out, and that number will continue to grow. This is just an incredible number. It was beyond the vision. Ed was about doing. And as I reflect today, my thought is that we can continue to honor Ed's memory by accelerating the doing of making this place the place it wants to be, it needs to be, and will be for the greater Cleveland area.
There was a time in my life where I was probably getting on a daily count phone calls and emails, no less than 40 to 50, whether a combination of emails and phone calls about Whiskey Island, and that is in direct relationship to Ed's advocacy. So I want to share one last story, and it's a very personal story. I was seeking his advice around the Hewletts, and it was September of '06, and we jumped in the car. We actually made arrangements with Oglebay Norton, and they allowed us to go onto the property and look at the Hewletts. But Ed and I stopped at the end of the road of Whiskey Island Drive by Old River Yacht Club, and we just stopped there, and we were looking at the road, and we just pulled over because I wanted to just make a point about the train tracks and the lake. And as we were talking, he just started to pour his soul out to me about how tough it was. And he almost at that point even alluded to me about how, there were times that he felt like giving up, but he never did in his pursuit for the causes he believed in. And he had said some things to me about some other individuals who said some very unflattering things about him. And I told Ed, just persevere. This space is now owned by the county. It's going to stay a green space forever. The city, the mayor, and myself and city council put on an amendment on a deed restriction that we wanted to see permanent zoning, that this remain a park and green space in perpetuity. And again, Ed just started to purge and pour his soul out to me. And that was just the kind of guy he was. And as I'm looking down this long road, I said, Ed, don't get caught up for what other people are saying. And I said, someday, gosh, it would be a really fitting tribute if one day this road was named after you. And he looked at me, he's like, yeah, like that's going to happen.
It is true. When we were considering, the Board of County Commissioners, purchasing this property, I said, well, it's a great idea in terms of sustainability and the environment and recreational purposes. I get that, but I don't think the county should buy it. I think somebody else should purchase it. Well, I don't know if you've ever heard an elected official admit to a miscalculation and a misjudgment before, but I freely admit to one today. I erred. Mea culpa. Mea magna culpa. Let me say this, and I don't think it's a stretch at all to say that Ed Hauser and those rare, courageous, valorous individuals like him put the D in democracy. Because they make sure that there is true, authentic, and genuine transparency in governmental operations and decisions. They make sure that the voice of the public is heard, that it's not shut down or shut out. And it does take a tremendous order of courage to be able to stand in front of political and other forces and to do so, to make sure that the least of these, the least powerful, that their voices are heard in the halls and are considered along with those who have the power, the affluence. I don't think there's an elected official in a moment of true honesty and candor that doesn't think, I wonder when I'm no longer around, will there be a building or a road or at least some little space somewhere that's named after me? Well, with the dedication of Ed Hauser Way this afternoon, he joins the pantheon of memorable public and civic servants who made a difference in our world and in our community. And that is no small feat, no small measure at all for the mayor of Whiskey Island or Citizen Hauser. And one last thing, when we think about Ed Hauser Way, and it is appropriate that it's called that, understand that it's not merely a road, it's also a philosophy, and it's a way of living. And it's an MO, a modus operandi, that should guide us in terms of doing everything that we can, as he did, and as Dan Moore has done, to ensure that the voice of the people is heard and that the precious natural resources that we are temporary stewards of are maintained in a fashion that we can be proud of when they're passed on to our children and to our grandchildren.
It's an extraordinary story, an extraordinary person of courage and vision. So, Councilman and Mayor, thank you for immortalizing him today.
Ed was absolutely identified by this work. He didn't always love it, but he relished it, and he couldn't do anything else. And one time we were sitting around talking about something, and he said to me, "So, how many times have you been in the newspaper?" And I said, "I don't know." He said, "I've been in it 72 times.
And the ability of a guy like Ed Hauser to come along and have the audacity to think that he could make a difference is really it's an astounding thing to think about. Ed understood that Cleveland lacks lakefront access. Ed liked to come out. I just love the picture on the front of these T-shirts with Ed with a sort of a wry smile on his face, sitting out in front of the Coast Guard station in his orange kayak. So I'm delighted that you all came today, and we should have one little cheer for Ed Hauser.
Hip, hip, hooray!
The city of Cleveland, under the watchful, inspired eye of Councilman Matt Zone, has enthusiastically endorsed the honorary naming of this road, which will now and forever be known as Ed Hauser Way. A fitting tribute to a man who never really could accept no for an answer.